Peace be with you. So good to have you here. Have you here also, everyone online. Did you hear? Today is your big test. Are you ready?
Yes.
Some people, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. We'll go ahead. Okay. According to our Bible reading today that you're carefully paying attention to, who sends Jesus off to his big test? Was it Satan? It's the Spirit. The Spirit. So give yourself one correct point if you said the Spirit sent Jesus off for his test. So question 2, who administered the test to Jesus? The devil. Okay, good. We have people listening. Great. Okay. Number 3, how did Jesus prepare for his test? He fasted for 40 days. 40 days. Question 4, how did the devil take advantage of the way that Jesus was preparing for the test? Stones in the bread. He's obviously very hungry after 40 days. Who here has, this next question, question 5, how long can the human body go with any food or nutrition? Obviously water, but without any food. How many days? 60? 40? There was Bobby Sands, who was a political prisoner for the in Ireland, held by the British. He survived 66 days without. I mean, it was horrible what it did to his body. The things that happen at 20 days, at 30 days, it just leaches, destroys your skeletal structure. But I don't know about you, but 60 or 50 or 40 days without food is not something I want to do. 40 hours is maybe more my speed, or maybe 3 hours between snacks. I could do 3 hours pretty easily. 2 hours. I can do 2 hours pretty easily. When I was a pastor leading youth groups, we would do the 30-hour famine, and the youth thought, we cannot go 30 hours without food. But in Australia, the same program was run by World Vision. They did the 40-hour famine because Australians are tougher. But for American youth, we had a program from World Vision called the 30-hour famine, and actually, just yesterday, we had a wedding right here. Andrew and Anna Hoyt. Andrew was a member of my youth group from our previous church where he did the 30-hour famine. He's alive. He got married yesterday, and he's doing quite well, and he will speak to the wonderful effects of the 30-hour famine. The teens and we adult guides, we would be sponsored for how many hours we could go without food, sometimes 32, 34, 36 hours without food. We'd raise money for programs to fight hunger around the world, and a lot of those programs would be right here in the United States. Some would be building wells in places that had no access to water, all through World Vision. We would all stop eating at Thursday at midnight, and we'd promise we wouldn't have any food during Friday. The kids would not eat lunch. The teachers would say, why are you not eating lunch? They'd find out the reason. They would say, well, can we contribute too? And they would get extra donations from their own teachers. On Friday, we'd gather at church for a lock-in, which everyone's locked into their church at night. And the first few times we would have a nurse just to make sure everyone was fine. But about the 20-hour mark, some kids would become a little bit cranky. Usually when youth groups get together, you have snacks, soda, you have lots of sugar, no sugar at all. And Some would be fine. Some would get headaches, but on Saturday morning, the parents would come and help us to break our fast with a breakfast, of beautiful pancakes and delicious maple syrup at the end of 30, sometimes 32, 36 hours. I have to say that it was really great that we had this incredible program to distract us from the headaches and the aches and pains that we felt being taken off of our sugar diet and going for 30 plus hours. Because the whole point of the 30-hour famine was to remember who we are, we would have the 30-hour famine. It would be Bible studies, it would be games, it would be fun challenges the whole time, remembering that we are all children of God and why we are here. We are here to love our neighbor. And we're doing that also by raising the money for the 30-hour famine. And remember that our identity, this is that we are commanded by God to love. It's not optional. We're commanded to love our neighbor. So that's the whole point of fasting. Our exam, our test, was to remember who we are. That was more important than eating all the time, which I love to do. I love to eat all the time. I can fast easily for 1 or 2 hours at a time. So as we heard from the lesson read this morning, Jesus did pass this test with the devil. The devil was challenging him, saying, you've been fasting all this time. You can easily turn the stones into bread. Go ahead. And Jesus quotes from Deuteronomy, it takes more than bread to stay alive. It takes a steady stream of words from God's mouth. And then the identity of Jesus is challenged 2 more times by the devil. Throw yourself down from the highest point in the temple, and God will catch you, and then you'll have incredible power. People will just worship you for these incredible, amazing spectacles that you do. And in fact, says the devil, worship me, and I'll give you all the nations of the world. Think about that. What's the power he's offering Jesus here? The power of the sword, the power of the gun to control, the power of violence to control all the nations of the world. But each time, Jesus, as we know, passes the test, and he says, I'm not here to become an all-powerful ruler to force people to go my way. I'm here in the way of love. And this is, we're also just reminded of this yesterday during the wedding. We read once again those words from Paul's first letter to the church in Corinth. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not rude, it's not close. And my favorite part of that whole passage from 1 Corinthians, love does not insist on its own way. I love that. Love does not insist on it. Love is here to serve. And that's what Jesus affirmed as his identity. He's here to serve, not to force people to follow, but here to serve. Love does not insist on its own way. The test was over. We know who Jesus was. Jesus, a servant of love, And then the devil left, and the angels came and tended to his needs. So that's the big test. Who are we? That's the whole test. Who are we? Forcing people or just loving people, not insisting on our way? In the Winter Olympics now taking place in Italy, as you know, I was honored to be there and to see some amazing events, from skiing to ski jumping, or as my daughter would say, watching flying squirrels come down off of a high mountain, and also biathlon. As we also know, this past week, the Ukrainian skeleton racer, a skeleton, it's tiny, tiny sled, and you hurl yourself down this ice passageway. And not something, it's very, very dangerous. And so Ukrainian skeleton racer Vladislav Aristovich, if I say that correctly, he wanted to wear his helmet that showed the faces of 20 of his friends and colleagues and coaches from Ukraine that had been killed by this war when Russia invaded. He had just finished fourth at the World Championships. He was a medal contender in the Olympics. But the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, decided his helmet was just a little too political. And so they said, no. They said, you can wear a black armband, but you cannot honor your friends this way. He said, that's not who I am. My identity, I love my friends. I love my friends. I love these coaches and these athletes who have been cut short in their life. And so the IOC disqualified him, and 4 years of training, 4 years of dreaming for this moment was taken from him. That's the test. Who are you in your time of test? Questions of identity can change the course of our life. The entire Russian invasion of Ukraine is one of identity, when you think about it. President Putin of Russia stated that Ukraine does not have an identity. It is not a country. It's not a country. Any move towards Europe or democracy is not the identity that Putin wanted. Ukraine does not exist, he said. That's why he went to take it over. Questions of identity are life and death questions. Who are we? Who are we? We are the people of God. We are here to love God and to love our neighbor. That's why later on we'll be hearing from Maria Yelizarova, who will be talking about her program, Run for Ukraine. So many of you have been so generous to support that in raising funds for hospital equipment so needed in Lviv, city in western Ukraine. And she'll tell us, we've just been so generous. I'll let you speak to that later. And that just fills my heart, because that's why we're here. We're here to love God and to love our neighbor. And it's not always easy to love our neighbor. Next week, our teams will be going to City Reach, led by our YCOM Jenny. And we're still collecting used and also new clothing like socks. And there's a list of them: socks, backpacks, large coats for the unhoused population in Boston that they'll be meeting with next week as part of City Reach. So City Reach is an amazing experience, but it's not easy. There's going to be a lot of youth groups at St. Paul's Cathedral. Often they'll have 100 teens and adults sleeping on a beautiful marble floor, very hard floor. It's coming up this next Friday night. They'll be there. And we are glad to support them in this. And each youth group is paired with a guide, a member, someone who's a worshiping member of Common Cathedral, who will walk with them on the streets, show them what it's like to live out there, and then will, on Saturday morning, help their youth in their group to prepare for the hundreds of people that are lining up to come in and to receive clothing or a backpack or simply a warm greeting, a smile, a friendly smile. And this is not easy. This is not easy. When I was a youth pastor at a previous church, I was in Shrewsbury. I led many groups of teenagers to City Reach over the years. one teen in that church that was all on that church. He was a very volatile young man. He'd get quite angry. Wonderful kid, always pitched in to help, but he was balking at City Reach. Didn't see the purpose of doing this. He was very upset with the homeless people he encountered. He said, Pastor Eric, they're lazy. These people are lazy. They should get jobs. Why are we walking with and helping these people who are not even helping themselves? And after the City Reach weekend that he experienced, he thought a lot of what he experienced that weekend. He realized that some of the homeless people he had met and he became friends with were struggling with many difficult issues, from either abuse in their life, where people have been so cruel to them, or addictions, or mental illness. There's a host of reasons that people are there. And so I saw this youth over the few months after we at City Reach, thinking about this, changing, talking in youth group. And I saw his whole persona becoming different. It became more gentle in the ways that he would speak to people. He no longer talked about lazy bums on the street. In fact, he was very glad to sign up and make sure his friends signed up for the next City Reach. So City Reach, say the teens ago, was one of the best experiences of their lives, one of the most difficult experiences of their lives. It's a test. It's a test. It shows who we are, who we can be. Fortunately, just like this teen from Shrewsbury, it's not just one time. You have a second chance on the test. You have a third chance on the test. You have a fourth chance. And the good news is that God has already passed the test for us. Sometimes we fail. I fail in loving my neighbor, in being a loving person. And God will give me another chance. And by the way, this test is an open book exam. You can look anytime at the Bible. It's not cheating. Also, you have multiple lifelines. You can reach out to your friends at any time. Those who have joys and sorrows that you're walking through, those you're holding in care, you're allowed to have a lifeline on this test multiple times. And I have to confess, I've gone to City Reach 12 times, 12 different groups. I need a lot of chances to pass this test. My soul, in many ways, is fed in ways that bread and chocolate cannot reach by City Reach. My soul is fed in ways that bread and chocolate that cannot reach when I witness in many ways that you are passing this test, and you're willing to take it again when we fall down, when I fall down. My heart is full seeing you doing these amazing works of love. So today, once again, is your big test. Open book, multiple lifelines. Are we ready?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks be to God.